Hey folks, I told you this week. This week I'd be on the video. So y'all caught me in a head wrap today. Listen, it's in my regular rotation, so you probably see me in a head wrap again. I changed my hair a lot, so worry about the face and know what's going on top of my head all the time. All right, week 2. We got a bunch of chapters we cover this week. All right, so we're covering color and texture, line and composition, light and lighting, and the design process. So what are we going to get this week? So when we get to color, we're going to talk about, we're going to learn a little bit about the color wheels, right? There are a bunch of different color wheels. We'll talk about primary colors, secondary, tertiary. Hopefully this is a refresher for you because you've gotten the color wheel in the textiles class, and you also got it in Fashion D45, which is fashion design fundamentals. So that part should be a refresher for you too. So we talk about a little bit about color schemes. I have a pretty cool little video in there about color, and then we'll talk about color as a merchandising strategy, right? Because it's a merchandising class, right? Moving on, we'll also talk about texture. We'll talk about that look but don't touch, but touch, right? That's really the important thing with texture. So again, look at texture as a merchandising strategy. And again, in design fundamentals in Fashion D45, you learned about texture as part of the elements of good design, but you also learned about texture in textiles. So hopefully, again, this is just laid the foundation, and we're just seeing the end result of it, of that foundation that got laid. Okay, so we'll talk about that. All right. Moving on to line and composition. Line and composition. We'll talk about the different types of lines that there are. Again, harkening back to design fundamentals as well, and we'll talk about composition. And there's a great story in here about Salvador Dali busting a window out of a department store. So hopefully you'll get to that too. All right. Light and lighting. We'll talk about the perception of lighting, as well as how lighting defines a store or a brand image. And then we'll finish up with the design process. Now, with the design process, it's covered in 2 different ways. The design process in our textbook covers the processes that a visual merchandiser will go through to actually go from concept to the finished product on the floor. In the lecture, I cover the design process in a little bit different way, kind of harkening back to the design process in fashion D45. So when we talk about those principles of good design, we talk about unity and balance and rhythm, and I talk about those as merchandising strategies. So the design process is covered in 2 different ways. Okay, all right. So what do you need to do? All right, what do you need to do now? All right, so watch this video, read your chapters, and we cover 4 chapters, but it's only looks like it's about 60 pages that you have to read. So this book the chapters are really condensed. So, and it got a lot of pictures in them too. 60 something pages. It's not even all text. So read the textbook material first, right? Because that's your roadmap. I reinforce the most important concepts from the textbook in the lecture. Okay, so do that. And then you're going to move on to, we have a quiz this week. We have a 25 question quiz, but the quiz covers, it starts with chapter 1, which we covered last week. Okay, so chapter 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all covered. So go back and review chapter 1 in the textbook and the lecture before you move on. That why do we do visual merchandising? Okay, and then move on to the discussion. Oh, sorry, let's back up. The quiz is due on Saturday, 11:59 p.m. Move forward to your discussion board. The discussion board, your initial post is due on Tuesday, and then your final post is due. Well, sorry, the reply to 3 of your classmates is due on Friday, and then come back and watch the recap of this chapter and what we'll talk about for next week. Okay, all right. I am enjoying reading your getting to know you. That first discussion board, and I'll be making comments on them. So I'll see you guys in the cloud.